Brent flew in a legend to speak with us today. This guy has been in the trenches. He's sold over 100 homes a month. He's had over 750 active and pending listings at one time with a team of 16 people. And he is going to shove 10 pounds of real estate gold into a 5-pound sack. So everybody, please stand up, put your hands together, and welcome to the stage, Michael Hellickson.
Have a seat. You guys paid for it. Super nice of you guys. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go rapid fire today. I got literally like a 3-day seminar. I'm gonna cram into about an hour and a half. So take notes. If you got pen and paper, make sure they're ready. I want to tell you a quick story before we start off. Back in high school, long time ago, I dated this girl. She was all right. She was cool. But her dad was awesome, right? I loved her dad. Why did I like her dad? Her dad owned a steel mill. What do you know about a guy that owns a steel mill? What's he got a lot of? Money, testosterone, yeah, right? He's got a lot of money, right? This guy was loaded, and so I hung out in that relationship a lot longer than I should because I wanted to get to know the dad better, right? Kind of weird. But end of the day, I learned a lot from this guy, and I asked him one day, I said, hey, man, so do you invest in the stock market? And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he says, Michael, why would I invest in somebody else's business when I can invest in my own? That hit me like a ton of bricks. So then I asked him, I said, well, what about real estate? Do you invest in real estate? And I want you to write down what he told me because it changed my life and it just might change yours too. He said, as much as I can, as fast as I can. As much as I can, as fast as I can. And so I started buying real estate as fast as I could, as much as I could, as fast as I could. I really took that advice to heart. And by 25, I owned 42 homes and I was a multimillionaire. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because what happened here was I found somebody that knew better than I did. I listened to him. I not only followed his advice, I acted quickly and decisively on everything he ever told me. And it really paid dividends for me. Now, I'll tell you something else that really helped me out was with my real estate sales business. One of the very best things I did, and I say I really mean my wife and I, obviously, right? And by the way, anytime I say I really mean we, her, and I. Unless it's work, then I mean her. And so those of you that are married and have a spouse in the business know what I'm talking about. But long story short, what we did was instead of having a lot of clients that would buy one house every 10 to 14 years, what we did was we took our sphere of influence and we started teaching them how to buy 1 to 4 houses per year. Now let that sink in for just a second. Imagine for a moment that you had 10, 15, 20 people buying 1 to 4 houses a year from you. It's pretty good. What if you had 50 or 100? We had 150 of these. And that took us, that one part of our business alone took us to about 400 or 500 transactions a year just there. And that was great. But here's what I learned too, because I coached with a lot of people throughout the years. My very first coach was a guy named, you probably recognize it, Mike Ferry, right? Great guy. Learned a lot from him. This was back 33 years ago, 34, 35 years ago, back when he was a young spry, 97 years old. I hope you're watching, Mike. Love you, brother. But learned a lot from him, right? He taught me how to get on the phone, how to not be afraid to pick it up. He taught me how to convert leads. Learned a lot. But what I also figured out was there was a limit to what I could do. There was a ceiling. There's only so many calls I could make per day. And so then what I figured out is, I got to learn how to work my sphere of influence. So then I started learning from a guy named Brian Buffini, right? Learned a lot from Brian. Then I coached with Joe. Then I coached with Tom. Then I coached with Ken. So I coached with all these different people, and I learned something different from each one of them. What I want you to take away from this is today, I'm going to teach you a bunch of stuff that you can go implement right now. Some of you aren't going to like all of what I have to say. That's okay. All right? It's like a buffet. You take what you like and you leave the rest. But here's the number one thing you've got to make sure happens. No matter what, at the end of our conversation today, you got to find that one thing that you're going to implement no matter what and go implement it. And I promise you it'll change your business. In fact, I'm going to give you one thing at the very end of today that, I'm not going to, by the way, I don't need to talk apples and bananas and oranges and all that stuff because guess what? I'm not a real estate agent anymore, so I can actually talk commission dollars and not be violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I'll just give you a great example. I'm going to use $500,000 as an easy example. So on a $500,000 transaction, most agents in your market are probably making 2.5%, which is $12,500. That's pretty typical, right? I'm going to show you, the very, very last thing I'm going to show you today is how to make $25,000. I put an extra zero in there, but I'm going to show you how to make $25,000 instead of $12,500 on that same listing and have your clients love you for it. How many of you would like to learn that? Raise your hands. Okay? This right here is going to change your freaking life, and it's super easy. But before I do, I want to begin with the end in mind. Here's the problem most of you have. The problem most of you have is you're not investing enough in what you believe in and what you are preaching. I'll give you an example. There's a waterfall of money right now, right next to you. Most of you are standing right next to it. And this waterfall of money is real estate investing. And most of you aren't even getting wet. Watch this. How many of you own at least one rental property? Raise your hands. That's a pretty good number. I'm actually impressed. Good for you guys. How many of you own 5 or more rental properties? Raise your hands. Only a couple of you, about 6 or 7 of you. Okay. Guys, everybody in this room, write this down. 1 rental per year, no matter what. I'm not talking flips and all that other stuff. They're great, right? In fact, you guys will recognize one of my great clients, somebody I've worked with for a lot of years, a guy named Perea. Anybody recognize that name? Pretty well-known guy, I think, today. So when I started working with Leo, he was back with Keller Williams. In fact, that was the days of Tom. Is Tom here? Is Tom Daves in the room? Turkey. He totally ditched on me. I'm going to give him a hard time. All right, so that being said, at the time I was coaching Tom, he was the number 1 agent at Keller Williams. And then I started coaching Leo. He was about number 600 and something. And then we brought Leo up to number 1, and he beat out Tom. And Tom wasn't super happy about that. Needless to say, now I only had 1 client, which was Leo. Or I should say I lost Tom at that point. And I'm just giving a hard time. We get along really well today. But my point is this. The way Leo did it was using investing in real estate as a tool. So he was flipping houses. He flipped 630 houses that year with his partner. It's pretty good, right? It's not bad. That's just flips. That's not counting as retail business as well. And he was doing a ton of REO. So I want you guys to really consider investment real estate both for you and for your clients. The last story I'm going to tell you about this investing in real estate side is I was one day at the Pike Place Market. You guys all know where the Pike Place Market is, right? Down in Seattle. And we were at this place called the Gum Wall, right? Which is this ugly, gross alleyway where the people take their chewing gum and they stick it on the wall. And while we were at the Gum Wall, this homeless guy comes up to me and he says, "Michael Hellickson." "Yeah?" "You changed my life." Whoa, hope it was for the better. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And he says, "You don't recognize me, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't." He says, "I'm Derek Osborne." And instantly I knew who it was. This guy had this big old beard. He was all scruffy and looked like he just rolled out of, a cardboard box or something. I didn't know where the guy came from. And he says, "Michael," he says, "I'm here with my kids today because I don't work anymore. Because you got me buying real estate back in the day. You sold me, I think I sold him 12 or 15 houses or something like that." And he says, "Literally, I don't have to work today because of you." And he starts tearing up, and I'm starting to tear up, and all my clients that I had with me that day were starting to tear up. I'm sharing this with you because I want you all to have that experience. I want you all to experience what it feels like to help somebody else get what they want so badly that when they do, it's emotional for both of you. And everybody in this room is capable of doing that. But to do it, you got to begin with the end in mind, like Napoleon Hill says. So here's what I want you to think about. How much money do you want to make in retirement income? What do you want to make? And by the way, forget about rev share. And I, by the way, love rev share. Love it. It's huge, right? Love rev share. Okay. All right. So that being said, I'm a huge fan. But here's the deal. I want to talk about passive income, investing in real estate. So I want you to think about how much money would you like to be making in retirement income just out of real estate? Put that number down. Write that down really quick. And then take that number divided by 1,000, right? So if I want to make $10,000 a month, I need about 10 rental properties. And by the way, that's really, really conservative. So if I want $100,000 a month, that's about 100 rental properties. Super conservative. You can actually do it with about half that, okay? But I want you thinking about that number. And I want to get you guys buying as much real estate as you can, as fast as you can. And here's the real reason why. This is the number one reason, especially for those of you that live in California. If you paid federal income tax in 2022, 23, or 24, raise your hand. If you paid any federal income tax in any of those years, raise your hand. Look at that. Watch this. I didn't. And you shouldn't either. So how many of you, by a show of hands, would like me to show you 3 ways to never pay taxes ever again? Raise your hands. Okay, now I got your attention. Benjamin Franklin said that the best way to save money is the avoidance of tax. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start you off with understanding why am I investing in real estate and not the stock market. And then I'm going to show you how to turn that real estate into never paying taxes again. All right. First and foremost, write this down. IDEAL. We're going to do this rapid fire. Okay, when I invest in real estate, I get income. I stands for income. So I buy a $500,000 house today. I'm literally going to be able to go out and immediately make $750 to $1,250 positive monthly cash flow on that house. That's not the big money, though. It's good, but it's not the big money. Now, if I took that same money and I put it in the stock market, how much am I going to make? What's my monthly income on that money in the stock market? The same $100,000. Zero. Maybe I get a $25 a month dividend. Woo! Right? Like super cool, right? So real estate crushes the stock market. And by the way, this is what I want you to teach your clients, and some of you need to teach your spouse this. Okay? All right, so what's the D stand for? Anybody, quickly. Depreciation. All right, so check this out. Every single month, the government says, you know what? Thanks for buying that house. We're going to give you a tax deduction. I don't even have to be a full-time real estate professional to take straight-line depreciation. So I buy that $500,000 house, and literally from day one, I'm saving $6,000 to $7,000 per year in taxes I will not pay just because I bought that one house for the next 27 and a half years. Great deduction. How much depreciation do I get in the stock market? Zero. They don't give me a tax advantage. They might give me tax deferral, but I don't get tax advantage. I don't get tax deduction. Okay. All right. E. What does that stand for? Equity. Okay. Here's where the equity comes in. This is huge. What I love about the equity piece is I've got people, and everybody in here that owns rentals, you're making money 24/7, 365 because somebody is living in your house paying down your mortgage, and that's growing your equity in that mortgage. Whether there's appreciation or not, your equity is growing every single month. Who's paying off your stocks for you? Yeah, nobody, right? Completely different. All right, how about the A? A stands for appreciation. So get this, stock market, average 401k. The average person retires with $240,500 in their 401k. Guess how much equity the average person has in their personal residence at retirement? Average and across America. 300. It's actually just over $300,000. Right? So without even thinking about it, just by owning their own home, they have $300,000 nest egg sitting there. Now, what if they would have just bought one rental property? Just one. It would have outpaced their stock market by a wide margin. By the way, average 401k over the last 30 years went up 4.2% per year in the last 30 years. Guess how much the inflation was in the same period of time? 4.1%. Right? So congratulations, you have a great savings account. That's really all it is, right? Now, what about real estate? Same period of time, and I'm talking nationwide. Now, we're not going to just single out California, but nationwide was 4.8% in real estate. Now, it doesn't sound like a big difference, but that 0.6%, it's actually pretty big, right? And you compound that over 30 years, it's massive. All right, so appreciation is way better in real estate than it is the stock market. And the last one is the L, and that stands for leverage. Okay, can I leverage my money in the stock market? Short answer is yes, I can buy on margin. Here's the problem, though. Buying on margin means I'm getting a loan for a bunch of money that I have to pay an interest rate on. And by the way, that interest rate is going to be on the very low end, about 4.7%, but probably more likely it's going to be at about 11.7%. And by the way, that means in order to just break even, I've got to beat the S&P 500. And you know what's really crazy? 85% of fund managers, these are the people paid millions of dollars to manage billion-dollar hedge funds, 85% of them can't beat the S&P 500. So why in the world would any of us go buy on margin and try and leverage in the stock? It makes no sense. Makes no sense to me. All right, so how about real estate? Can I leverage in real estate? Absolutely super easy. I can leverage 4 to 1. I can get a bank loan, and this is vanilla. We're not even talking about doing sub twos or anything creative. We're just talking vanilla transaction, 20% down. I can leverage 4 to 1. The bank puts up $4 for every dollar I put up, and all of a sudden, instead of making, let's just use 5% for example. If I make 5% in the stock market on a $100,000 investment, congratulations, you made $5,000. But if I take that same $5,000, I put it into real estate, just on appreciation alone at the same 5% rate, guess what? I just made $25,000 because it's really not my $100,000 that I'm getting it on. It's the $500,000 investment value. So I made $25,000, and that's not counting income depreciation or equity. Guys, real estate is massive. We need to be teaching our people this. All right, so that being said, let's take us a step further. I don't have time to go deep into what I buy, but I will tell you this. I'm very, very particular about a couple of very simple rules. Number one, I buy on the 1% rule. And you guys are going to immediately tell me, oh, but Michael, you can't do that here in California, right? What's the 1% rule? Who can tell me? What's that? That's exactly right. So I buy a house for $500,000. It must rent out for $5,000 a month or more, or I will not touch it. End of story. It's got to happen, right? You guys are probably thinking, man, there's no way we can do that here. Guess what? I'm from Seattle. Guess what? You cannot do that in Seattle either. There's nothing you can buy in Seattle on the 1% rule. So guess where I don't buy? I don't buy in Seattle, and I don't buy in California. Where do I buy? I buy a lot of stuff in Ohio. I buy Midwest, pretty much all over the Midwest, right? Now, you guys don't get mad at me. I'm going to get a little political on you for just a second, but let me preface it with this. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, conservative, or liberal. None of that stuff means anything to me. You know what I care about? Can we be cool to each other? Can we help each other out? Can we bring each other value? Can we make money together? Those are things that matter to me, okay? Now, that being said, politics does have a lot to do with how and what I buy, and here's how. So there's two types of tenants I rent to. There's retail and there's institutional. Retail tenants, that's mom and pop off the street. They're going to rent a house, rent an apartment or whatever from me, right? Just typical people off the street. Institutional is I'm renting to a government entity, an organization, a corporation. Maybe it's a battered women's shelter, sober living house, halfway house, those kinds of things, right? All right, two very different types of tenants. When it comes to retail tenants, I do not buy in blue states. Why? That's exactly why, because I got to deal with stupid stuff like eviction moratoriums, rent control. If I I'll give you an example. I own a ton of stuff in Illinois. But it's all institutional, right? If I had retail stuff in Illinois and somebody decides in November they're going to stop paying me, good luck getting them out till spring. It's not happening. They won't let you, right? So it's a big deal. So I tend to buy my retail properties in red states. I tend to buy my institutional properties in anything in the Midwest that I can make the numbers work. Next thing I want to make sure is that I've got 20 to 50% equity in every property I buy. Okay, this is a big one. I never want less than 20 because if I have to sell something, I don't ever want to have to write a check. If things get tight, I get in a pinch, I got to be able to liquidate something, get some cash out. But also I don't want more than 50, and there's two big reasons why. Number one is leverage. I'd never want to have more than 50% of my money tied up in a house because I'm not leveraging my money enough. And guys, I got to get my money working harder for me than I work for my money, number one. Number two is lawsuits. I am far less likely to get sued if I have a mortgage that's less than 5 years old on a property than if I have a property owned free and clear. If that makes sense to you, say yes. Okay, because the attorneys will take it. If I own it free and clear, the attorney will take that one on contingency. Whereas if I have a mortgage on it, the attorney is going to say, "Hey, look, man, you're going to have to pay me. It's going to take us 1 to 3 years to go through this thing. No idea if we're going to win it or not. If we do, great. If we don't, you might have to actually pay the landlord's attorney's fees as well as your own, right? So it minimizes my risk. Right. Next, and this is a big one: 25% arbitrage. Now, this is where I see a lot of people go wrong. So if my PITI, that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, is $3,000 a month, my rent must be, no matter what, must be $4,000 a month or more, or I will not buy that property. So I want you guys to understand, a lot of people will tell you that it's okay to buy for appreciation. And the problem is, everybody that started investing in real estate since 2012, let's say, those guys all look like geniuses, right? Because all the market did from 2012 to 2021 was what? Go up, right? And so the market made up for stupid behavior, right? The market made up for bad investment decisions. What I'm going to tell you guys, and I want you to write this down, is cash flow or not at all. Cash flow or not at all. Do we want appreciation? Yes, absolutely. But it has to cash flow. Never buy anything that doesn't cash flow. Super important. All right. So these are the rules I follow. Very, very important. All right. Now, you can get this all over the place. You don't have to buy here. Now, I don't have time to walk you through a deep dive on structure. Sometime, if you guys want, I'll give you a number so you can reach out to me. And I do a webinar a couple times a month where I go through structure, like, what should your trust look like? What should your Wyoming LLC filing as Subchapter S look like? What should your other LLCs look like? How should all that be structured? I'm not going to walk you through that now, but it's a very important piece of this. But what I do want to walk you through is something called generational wealth. How many of you have kids? Raise your hands. Okay, that's awesome. That's cute. Well, Tara and I, we always tell people we never knew what true happiness really was until we had kids, but then it was too late. Yeah, you guys know. Yeah, you're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just kidding. We love them now that they're profitable. So our son, Austin, he's a real estate agent, right? So this kid is first year selling real estate, 97 listings. Second year, 121 listings. Third year, 164 listings. That was last year. And by the way, he's nothing special. Why am I sharing this with you? Because when I start getting into how to make more money selling real estate, he is one of the examples I like to point to. And guys, let me tell you something. You don't have to be good looking. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to be the best at anything to really make a ton of money in this business. There's one thing you have to be. What is it? Disciplined. That's it. Look at this kid. Seriously, guys, that's him right there. He's the short one, by the way. And by the way, ladies, he is single and ready to mingle. So if you know of anybody, like Mom and I are trying to find us a daughter-in-law, and he has got no game with the ladies unless they got a house to sell. Then he's all over it. But seriously, if he can do it, you can do it. Look at this kid. He looks like Howdy Doody and Doogie Howser got together and had a kid, right? I mean, seriously. So there's nobody in this room that couldn't do what he did. And I can prove it because I've gotten tons of clients all over the country that literally come to me, and they're in what we call Tier 1, right? Tier 1 is where you make, or where you're closing fewer than 25 transactions a year. Tier 2 is 25 to 75. I'll give you the rest of the tiers in a minute. But I get people all the time in Tier 1 or Tier 2 that come to us thinking, Michael, I want to list a bunch of homes. Is it even possible for me to list a bunch in my first year? And the short answer is, yeah. I've had people come in Tier 1 that in their first year with us list 70 homes in their first year, 100 homes in their first year. It's very simple to do if you're disciplined, all right? And I'm going to show you 5 ways you can get those listings today. All right, now, when it comes to generational wealth, I want you to think about 2 families. First of all, how many of you want to actually build generational wealth? Raise your hands. Okay, good, and we'll cover this. All right, so check this out. Think about 2 families. There's the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, right? In their day, they were each the wealthiest families of their time. The Vanderbilts, what they said is, hey, we got this pot of money, and when we die, you're going to get a piece of it, and you're going to get a piece of it, and you're going to get a piece of it. And it took a whopping 2 generations for that money to be wiped out, gone. 2 generations. The Rockefellers, on the other hand, they said, hey, you know what? We got this pot of money, and here's what we're going to do. You don't get it. Why? Because we're going to make that pot of money make more money. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give you a piece of the cash flow, and you a piece of the cash flow, and you a piece of the cash flow. And that fortune still feeds 200 families today. Think about that, 200 families, and it's growing every day, right? Okay, so watch this. I want you to grab a piece of paper, and I want you to draw this with me, okay? First of all, there's 5 stages in building wealth, okay? Struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. Write those down. Struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. I'm going to start off with struggle, and I'll give you the definition of each. Struggle is when your passive income is less than your expenses every month. Struggle is when your passive income is less than your expenses every month. Okay? Survival is when your passive income is equal to or greater than your expenses each month. This is what our good friend Robert Kiyosaki, I should say our good friend, we've got people in the room that are good friends with him, but this is what Robert Kiyosaki would call getting out of the rat race. Okay? When your passive income is equal to or greater than your expenses every month. Now, success is when you can learn to live on less than 30% of your passive cash flow each month. Now, here's what I'm going to draw for you. First of all, there's a book you all need to read. I want you to write it down. It's like the beginner's Bible for money. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clausen. Good book, right? Yeah, fantastic book. And I say it's the beginner's guide because he's going to teach you to live on less than 70% of what you make. I'm going to teach you to live on less than 30, okay? Because I want this to accelerate faster. So here's how we do it at the Hellickson family. This is what our family does. So our kids both make good money, right? Austin's in real estate, Madison's in mortgage. They both crush it. And they take essentially a $67,000 salary, right? Because they want to keep their salary low. And then they get 10% of the profits from their individual companies. 10% goes to tithing. That leaves 80%. Now, that 80% of the profit that they make, we take that 80% and we dump it into a family business. Okay, now don't stress out about the structure on this. It's just a little LLC that's a temporary holding company for the money. That family business, when it has enough money, goes out and buys a bunch of what? Houses, okay? Goes out and buys a bunch of houses. Now, those houses kick off cash flow. So what we do is we take 70% of that cash flow and we dump it back into the family business. 70%. Now, guys, this is what's called the flywheel effect. Write that down. This is the flywheel effect. What this means is, effectively, the money's growing way faster than we can ever spend it. Now, we get to keep 30% for the family. All right? Now, this is interesting. That 30% is great, okay? It's fantastic. but it's not the holy grail. Okay? This puts you in success when you can learn to live on less than that 30%, right? And you think about it, because this is growing so fast, your 30% is growing every month, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember I told you I'd tell you how to avoid taxes? I'm going to give you 3 ways. Let me give you the other 2 ways right now. Okay, so we talked about depreciation, right? So I buy this house for $500,000. That means I've got a land value of about $100,000, and I've got an improvement value of about $400,000. And this is going to be pretty similar numbers in the Midwest, right? So that's my land. This is my improvement. Now, here's what's going to happen. The government's going to say, hey, look, on this $100,000, we're not giving you a tax benefit on that. We get it. Like, that's going to go up in value. So we're not giving you anything for that. But the $400,000 improvement value, what's the improvement? That's the building, the house, the apartment, the oil well, whatever's built on the land is the improvement on the land, right? And the government says, hey, look, we get it. The carpet's going to wear out. The roof's going to wear out. The appliances are going to wear out. Everything's going to wear out over time, so we're going to let you depreciate that. And so you get to divide that $400,000 by 27.5, and every year for 27 and a half years, you get to take that as a deduction on your taxes, which means you're going to lower the actual tax you pay by about $6,700 to $7,200 per year, okay? Now, that's good. That's straight line depreciation. All of your clients can take advantage of that. Everybody in the country can take advantage of that, okay? Super easy. But in 2021, it got a lot better. In 2021, like him, love him, hate him, call him the felon, the misogynist, the orange man. I don't care what you call him. I call him Donald J. Trump, the guy that makes me even freaking richer, okay? Now, I know, and I'm not trying to get all political on you. I just want to be honest with you about where the freaking money's coming from, all right? So in 2021, he got something passed specifically for you guys and people like me, right? He got this passed, and it's called accelerated or bonus depreciation. Now, guys, here's the deal. What he said is, hey, look, we got all these people out there, these real estate professionals, right? We're talking real estate agents, professional real estate investors, appraisers, all these people that are in the real estate business. They're pretty smart, right? So why don't we trust them a little bit more? Why don't we give them a little bigger benefit? Because we want to stimulate the real estate market. We want to stimulate good, sensible investment in real estate with people that we know are probably less likely to go into foreclosure. So why don't we give these real estate professionals this accelerated depreciation, and instead of making them write it off over 27 and a half years, let's let them write off 81.9% of it over years 1 to 15. Most of that in year 1. Wait, what? Yeah, so let me tell you what that looks like. So this went into effect in 2022. And in 2022, I could go buy that $500,000 house, put $100,000 down on it, and I got a $145,000 tax deduction. I'm sorry, what? Which means I did not pay somewhere between $65,000 and $75,000 in taxes that year, year 1, because I bought that house. So in reality, who was making my down payments for me? Oh, the government. I'm sorry, what? The who? Who's the government? Yeah, all you guys that pay taxes. So this is me giving all y'all a round of applause for buying about. You guys don't think that's funny? Nobody's clapping with me. Okay, if you're a little upset by this, that your taxes bought me a bunch of real estate, say yes. Yeah, you should be. If you're not ticked off, you should be. Watch this. If I could get you every dime back that you've paid in taxes in the last 3 years, how many of you would consider coaching with me? Raise your hands. Look at that. And I'll bet you, and watch this, keep your hand up, put your hands up again, keep your hand up if you own some real estate that you've owned for a couple of years. I'll bet I can get all your taxes back. Because guess what you can do? You can go back and amend your 22 tax return. Now, I'm going to tell you, your crappy H&R Block accountant, and by the way, if you're using H&R Block for your accounting, you deserve to be poor. Okay, let's just throw that out there. But your crappy little H&R Block accountant, what they're going to say is, oh, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do accelerated depreciation because if you do and you decide to sell that house in 4 or 5 years, you're going to have to pay back depreciation recapture, right? Which means you have to pay back the benefit that you received. But it's only kind of true because there's 2 really good ways to never pay depreciation recapture. What are they? 1031 tax deferred exchange. And what's the other one? My personal favorite. Just die. Not a big deal, right? And so, I mean, watch this. How many of you are going to die? Raise your hand if you're going to die. Okay, thank you, right? Like, if we're being honest, we're all going to freaking die, unless Elon Musk figures out how to avoid that. But he'll get together with RFK and they'll figure it out. I don't know. Anyway, here's the bottom line. Bottom line is, when you die and your kids get that property, they don't have to pay depreciation recapture. In fact, that property, by the time I die, it's not going to be $500,000 anymore. It's probably going to be $2-3 million at that point, right? And so guess what my kids get to do? They get what's called a stepped up basis, which means they get to redepreciate the property from the new $2 or $3 million value. Guys, if you're paying, I'm going to say this in the most polite way I can. Federal income tax is for stupid people. I'm just throwing it out there. If you are paying federal income tax, it's because you either don't know or you're not doing what it takes to take advantage of what I'm telling you right now. There is zero reason for anybody in this room to ever pay federal income tax again. Think about all the money you paid in taxes. What if you would have taken, just in the last 3 years, what if you would have taken that money and bought a couple of houses with it? How would your life be different today? Now, what if you then held on to those houses for 5, 6, 7 years, then pulled some more money out of those and gone and bought some more? How would your life be different now? That's what I want to help y'all do, okay? So, accelerated depreciation use. And by the way, this is on a declining schedule because the Dems, they wanted to get rid of it over time. And so in 22, I could take 100% of that benefit. In 23, that dropped to 80%. So I could accelerate 80% of it, and then I had to do the other 20% in the 27 and a half years. In 24, that dropped to 60%. I could do in years 1 to 15, and the other 40 I had to take in 27 and a half years. 25, it goes to 40. 26, it goes to 20. And 27, I just have to do straight line depreciation. But guess what? Who got elected? I'll give you a hint, it wasn't Gavin. So, thank you. All right, so watch this. I want you to think about this. He's in the White House. He controls the Senate. He controls the House. Guess what? And by the way, he controls the judicial branch as well. And we just looked at it. It just came out yesterday. We know for a surety now that in the big, beautiful bill they're putting together right now, 100% depreciation is coming back. Yeah. Retroactive to the end of January this year. Retroactive. Dude, I'm telling you, this is a game changer for you guys. You need to understand this, guys. It's huge, right? All right. So that being said, let's take a step back. Let's come back to generational wealth. So I've told you 2 ways to avoid paying federal income tax. Both awesome, both super easy, right? But watch this. How do the really rich people, how does Robert Kiyosaki avoid paying federal income tax? Dolph Drews, Donald Trump, how do all the riches? And by the way, everything I've told you so far, those first 2 methods, those are middle class tax benefits. That's for all of us, right? That's not for the richy rich, right? They're fighting for the middle class right now. Why? And by the way, that's why I even teach anymore. I don't need to teach anymore, guys. Like I could be retired. There's no reason for me to be here other than, one, I love Brent, and when Brent says, "Well, you come," you come. So yeah, let's just call it what it is. He's the man. We freaking love that guy. And by the way, you guys chose wisely. Can I just say this? Being in Brent's downline is probably the smartest decision you've made in your business. One of the very, very smartest decisions you've ever made in your business. I'm very serious, okay? One of the most genuine, honest, caring human beings in this industry, period. End of story. And he doesn't give a rip about what's in it for him. He cares about what's in it for you, okay? But why do I do this? Well, I do this because I want my great-grandkids to have a great America. And for them to have a great America, we need a strong middle class. For us to have a strong middle class, I got to teach you how to do this. Then I got to get you to do it. Then I got to get you to teach other people how to do it. Otherwise, BlackRock's going to own it all. If that makes sense to you, say yes. Okay? So we have got to help other people figure this out, all right? Now, check this out. So the really rich people, let's say Donald Trump needs a haircut. Let's call it what it is, dude. It probably takes 20 people to comb that sucker over, right? And so it's probably not cheap, right? So let's say he needs $100,000 for a haircut. Where's he going to get it? Well, I'll tell you this. He does not take it in income. In fact, what he does and what Robert Kiyosaki and all these other guys do is they take that 30% and they dump it into the family business too. They don't take any active income, 0 active income. It all goes back into buying more real estate. Why? How do they get money? When they want money, they borrow it against their portfolio. And guess what you don't pay taxes on? Borrowed money, right? And so literally what you want to do is, let's say I've got a $100 million portfolio. If it goes up at 5%, that's $5 million that year. Let's make it even smaller numbers so everybody can get their head around it. If I've got a $10 million portfolio, everybody in this room can grow a $10 million portfolio. That's 2 houses a year for 5 years. You're good, okay? Now you got a $10 million portfolio. And guess what? If my $10 million portfolio goes up at 5%, that's $500,000 in that year that it went up in value. Now, I could live on that $500,000, and I'd be doing great because my active income would be still buying a ton more real estate. So my portfolio is still growing. But you could even take it a step further and do what we do and what people like the Trumps and the Kiyosakis of the world do. And you don't even take that much out of it. If you want to be in significance, that's the next level. You want to be in significance, what you do is you learn to live on less than 30% of the growth of your portfolio. Oh, now this is where it gets really crazy, right? Because now you're taking $150,000 out per year that you're living on. You're taking the other $350,000, and what do you do with it? Buy more real estate. And this thing just snowballs faster than you can even imagine. Guys, it's awesome. Any questions on this? Okay, this is huge, guys. Like if you just figured this piece out right here, take as much money as you possibly can every single time you get a check and go dump it into real estate as fast as you can. And I'm telling you right now, you'll be done paying income tax, and you can take that money and reinvest it, and your life will change. And by the way, it takes one person to change the financial future for their family forever. I'm that guy for my family. Raise your hand if you're that person for yours. I hope you all are, okay? Literally, it only takes one. Be that person for yours. All right, now, that said, perfect timing. I want to get to the next piece. I want to get to how do we make more money selling real estate? So you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me after this. It's going to be one of the two. And I'll be honest with you, I don't care which it is. And I say that kind of jokingly, but the reality is, like, I'm not here to get you to like me, right? I think it's great if you like me, but there's one reason I'm here. And that's to help you make more money in less time so you can spend more time with your family. I want you to write this down. This is our core value at Club Wealth. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. If you agree with that, say yes. All right. I am sick and tired of watching people, especially in this business, have their marriages and their families torn apart because they're working too much chasing the money. Okay? It's not necessary. So what I'm going to share with you is several different ways. Now, what's your average sales price right here in town? Okay, $550. So I'll just use $500 then for easy numbers, okay? How many of you, if I could show you, well, let's back up. I need to know where you're at because I got to teach this properly. The tiers. Let me give you the tiers. Write this down. Tier 1 is 0 to 25 closings per month. Or sorry, per year. Sorry about that. 0 to 25 closings per year is Tier 1. 25 to 75 closings per year is Tier 2. 75 to 150 closings per year is Tier 3. Tier 4 is 150 to 250. Tier 5 is 250 to 500. Tier 6 is 500 to 1,000. Tier 7 is 1,000 units per year and more. I'll give it to you one more time really fast. Tier 1 is 0 to 25. Tier 2 is 25 to 75. Tier 3 is 75 to 150. Tier 4 is 150 to 250. Tier 5 is 250 to 500. Tier 6 is 500 to 1,000. Tier 7 is 1,000 units per year and more. And by the way, before you say to me, Michael, nobody does 1,000 units a year and more, and I'm not talking downline. I'm talking, I'm not talking about your organization. I'm talking about teams, right? And I'll tell you that in last year, 38 teams did over 1,000 transactions. In fact, I had dinner 2 nights ago with about 8 of them, and the average person in that room did 1,200 deals that previous year. So let me tell you, like, there's a ton of people out there. In fact, 68 teams did over 600 transactions in 2024. That's 68 teams, guys. Think about this. This is where the whole market's headed. Now, can you be successful as a solo agent? Yeah. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a whole lot easier if you're either on a team or building a team. And it doesn't matter which, okay? You could be a team member. I know a lot of team members making $250,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, and they don't have the headache of running the team, okay? But I'll tell you, it's a lot easier when you're part of a team, whether it's the team leader or the team member. Now, that said, I need to know where you guys are at, so I teach this next part right. So how many of you are in Tier 1? Raise your hands if you're in Tier 1. Okay, that's most of the room. That's typical. Okay, good. Tier 2, raise your hands. Raise your hand if you're in Tier 2. Wow, a lot of Tier 2s. Okay, good. Tier 3, raise your hands. Anybody in Tier 3? Got one Tier 3 is all. Okay. Tier 4, raise your hand if you're in Tier 4. Tier 5 or higher. Anybody in Tier 5 or higher? Just Steve? Is that it? Okay. All right, so here we go. So I apologize, but I got to talk to the 1s and 2s, okay? Because they got to hear this. Guys, most of you are in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Here's the deal. When you're in Tier 1 and Tier 2, you have more time than money. If you agree with me, say yes. Okay? So guess what you don't do in Tier 1 and Tier 2? You don't go spend a bunch of money trying to get business coming in, right? There's different strategies. I'm going to teach Steve stuff that's vastly different than what I'm going to teach you guys because where he's at in his business demands a very different strategy than what you guys should be doing right now. If this makes sense to you, say yes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the 3 things that will move the needle in your business. There are only 3, and anybody that tells you any differently is lying to you or just trying to get you to get your credit card out, okay? There's only 3 things that are going to move the needle in your business. Write these down. Lead generation. Lead follow-up. And what's the last one? Lead conversion. Everything else in this business is noise. Everything. Okay, you want to know why I've got, like Virginia Corbett. I'll give you a great example. Virginia Corbett came to me in a 3-month window. She got a divorce from an abusive husband. He's a jerk, right? He's that guy that's like, you're nothing without me. You can't do this without me, right? And by the way, she's in your downline, I should say in Brent's downline. She's over in Poughkeepsie. I can't remember how to say it. Poughkeepsie. Say it really loud. Poughkeepsie, New York. All right, so she gets a divorce from an abusive husband. So now he takes all the money, steals all the money out of the bank account, kicks her out of the house. Now she's homeless, single mom, loses her job, gets a real estate license, and signs up for coaching in the same 3-month window. First 12 months in the business, 70 listings. If she can do it, you can do it. But you want to know why she was able to do it? I'm going to tell you why. She had the right. She was committed, but there's a lot of people committed, right? And by the way, when we talk commitment, I always like to say, like, you think about commitment, like who's really committed to breakfast? The chicken or the pig? The chicken's interested. The pig's committed, right? Okay, so there's a lot of people that say they're committed to this business. And watch this. If I told you that I could make you $500,000 in this business working 22 and a half hours a week, how many of you would do whatever I told you for those 22 and a half hours a week? Raise your hands. Okay, watch this. Put your hands up really high. Look around the room. Wave to all the other liars in the room. You won't do it. I'll tell you right now, most of you won't do it because this is what it looks like. You know what? Success comes, what sucks about success is it comes dressed in overalls and looks a lot like work, right? And the thing is, most people won't do it. But it's super simple. So you know what Virginia did? She got her habits in place. Write that down, habits. Guys, your habits will dictate your outcomes, period. Habits dictate outcomes. You want to make more money? Get in the right habit, especially in Tier 1 and Tier 2. And I'm going to tell you, Tier 1 freaking sucks. Why does Tier 1 suck? I don't mean you suck because you're in Tier 1. I mean just being in Tier 1 sucks. It's hard. It's a grind, right? You're working your tail off just trying to freaking pay the bills. But you know what sucks even worse than Tier 1? It's freaking Tier 2. Why? Because by the time you get into Tier 2, what are most people trying to do? They're trying to build a team. They're trying to, now they're going to do their own lead gen, lead follow-up, lead conversion. They're going to have their own CRM. But now they got to go out and recruit, hire, and train other people, and they're going to spend time, effort, energy, and money doing that. And guess what? All the while, their production starts coming down. Their expenses are going up, and it takes 6 to 12 months for those team members to even start closing deals. And so guess what? Most people in their first year in Tier 2 start thinking, should I just go back to being a solo agent? Is this even worth it? Right? And so it sucks worse than Tier 1. Well, guess what? Once you get in, Steve knows this, but once you get into about Tier 3, you start to realize, oh, hey, wait a minute. My team's production's starting to match my own. Like, there may be light at the end of this tunnel, right? Like, there may be some success to be had here. And so they stick with it. And if they can make it into Tier 4, the big challenge in Tier 4 is everybody wants to get out of production. And everybody that I've seen that tries to get out of production in Tier 4, guess what happens to their team? It implodes every time. Right? So note to self, don't try and get out of production until you're mid-Tier 5. But let's talk about what can I do in Tier 1 and Tier 2 to make $500,000 right now. Remember the title of this was I'm going to show you 5 different ways to get 3 listings a month? Is that what it was? By the way, that's child's play. 3 listings a month, nothing. That's easy, okay? So watch this. If I'm in Tier 1, there are 5 things that I do that don't cost me a lot of money but do take some of my time. These 5 things. Any one of these 5, if done for 20 hours a week, will make you $500,000 every year. If you start stacking them on top of each other, you can easily get to over $1 million a year. How many of you would like them? Let's hear it. Really loud. If you want to hear them, say yes. Yes. All right, here you go. Thank you. All right, watch this. Write these down. It's the big 5, okay? They're all easy. They're super simple, but nobody wants to do them. FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. Now, of those 5, which one do you think is the most productive way to get business right now? It's open houses. Yeah. How many of you have held an open house in the last 30 days? Raise your hands. Keep your hand up if you got at least 5 people to come out to the open house. 10? 15? 20? Oh, I lost almost everybody. 25? Okay, how much? What did you have? 33? Fantastic. 15? 20? Fantastic. You guys should be averaging 45 people to every open house. You should be getting somewhere between 25 and 150 people out to every open house. And it's super simple. And by the way, I'll tell you some of these other methods as well. But let's start with open houses because it's the easiest way to make $500,000 right now in this market. And I'll tell you something else. If you want to make $500,000 just from open houses, all you have to do is 8 open houses a month. That's it. I don't care what you do the rest of the month. Do 8 open houses a month and follow up with those people properly, you're going to make $500,000 in this market. Very easy. Probably way more than that. All right, that being said, the number one thing you got to do when you're holding open houses is pick the right house. Stop picking entry-level houses. Why in the world would you hold an open house on an entry-level house? Well, if you do a move-up house, now they probably have a house to sell. Now you get 2 bites of that apple. Plus, you've raised your average sales price, right? So I always go for move-up houses. Also, I want to be no more than a half mile to a mile from a major shopping center and no more than 2 turns off the main road. Now, there's 4 main ways that we get people to open houses. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each of these, especially not the. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Number 4 is all our online methods, right? We're going to stick it in Realtor.com. We're going to post, put it in Zillow. We're going to put it on social media. We're going to do all the online marketing we can. Okay, that's great, awesome. That's number 4. That's the least effective of the 4. Number 3, ma'am, if you're looking for a seat, I got one right up here in the front for you. She's running away. She's not going to want to take it. All right. So that said, numbers 2 and 3 are very closely related. I'm going to call and door knock the entire neighborhood. Okay? Call and door knock the entire neighborhood. If there's one thing I love at an open house, it's nosy neighbors. Freaking love them. Because you know what they really are? They're sellers. I love those people. If they're looking at an open house, they're either sellers or they got a friend that maybe wants to move into the neighborhood. Okay, so I love the nosy neighbors. And then the number 1 way, what's the best way to get more people to my open house? Signs? Okay, well, hold on. Like, how many signs do you put up for an open house? Like 8. That's a lot. Good for you. Oh, what'd you say? 25? That's insane. Anybody else? 30. You got to be crazy. You want to know the number? Minimum 50 signs per open house. What? Oh, but Michael, watch this. I love this. I'm going to hear it from him right over here. David's going to say, oh, but Michael, that won't work in my market. I heard that about 6 times last night. Yeah, watch this. Because you're going to say, oh, but Michael, the city will take my signs. Does the city take your signs here? Yeah. Man, I'll bet that hurts your feelings. That's just so sad. I can't imagine what you would do in a situation like that. Guys, think about this for a second, okay? I had a great mentor once tell me, he says, Michael, any problem I can write a check for isn't a problem. It's an expense, right? And so think about this, guys. So you put up 50 signs. What's it cost you for a sign? It's like $5 for the sign and the stake. We're talking corrugated signs. We're not talking A-boards here, right? So it's like $5. And so they take all 50 of your signs. That's like $250. Half the people in this room spend more than that on Starbucks in a month. Like, are you kidding me? Some of you got it in front of you right now. So, guys, I'm serious. Like, let's think about where we're putting our money right now, okay? If we put our money into things that make us money, we will have more money for Starbucks or whatever it is you want to buy. You'll spend more than that for one Zillow lead. That's a garbage lead anyway. And I'm not saying all Zillow leads are garbage, but I'll tell you right now, Flex, I coach the number 2 Flex team in the world right now, right? Guess what their profit margin is on Zillow Flex? 4%. That's horrible. That's a terrible profit margin, okay? You should be running 28 to 32% profit margin as a team, by the way. All right, that being said, signs are critical, okay? I want 50 signs up all over. I don't care if they find me. I don't care if they take my signs. I just need to understand how much it's going to be and be ready to write the check. That's all it comes down to, okay? But watch this. If I put up those 50 signs, they take them all, it costs me $200, even if it costs me $500, but I got 40 people come out. I'm going to sell a house or two out of those 40 people, and I'm going to make a lot more than $500. This is great ROI. All right, so open houses are on fire. Now, I know the one that you guys all want to be number 1. What's the one that you guys all want to produce really well? Cold calls. Nobody wants to do cold calls. You're in a... Who said cold calls? Okay, good for you. I'm glad you're going to do cold calls, but most people in this room won't. Social media. Everybody wants to point at stuff on TikTok and make money. Good for you. If you don't look like Go, it ain't happening, all right? So I'm just throwing it out there, and you can tell her I said, is she here? No, probably not. What's that? Everybody wants it to be their sphere of influence, right? But here's the thing. Most of you are underperforming in your sphere of influence. How many of you have been in this business for less than 5 years? Raise your hands. Guess what? For most of you, your friends and family aren't going to do business with you because they still see you as what you did before. They still see you as a nurse or a student or a doctor or a firefighter or whatever the heck you did before, right? You haven't earned their respect yet. You have to show them a ton of evidence of success before they're going to trust you. Now, here's the thing. Everybody write down how many people are in your sphere of influence right now. So that's how many people are in your database that if you taught them how and reminded them, you're pretty confident that they'd probably do business with me or send me a referral someday. Just write that number down. The national average is 250. Okay? All right, now, I'd be willing to bet that the vast majority of people in this room are doing less than 10% of that number in referral-based transactions each year. If that's true for you, say yes. Okay? All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to show you how to get to 20% in just 12 days per year. If that's interesting to you, say yes. All right, here we go. So first and foremost, I want you to write down 4 client events per year, no matter what. 4 client events per year, no matter what. Very important, okay? Now, you don't have to do Popeyes and all that other stuff. Forget about all that. It's not necessary. A newsletter, a good written, printed newsletter is helpful. I don't have time to go into that, but at the end of the day, really you just need to do 4 client events per year, and they don't have to be fancy. Okay, it could be a barbecue in your backyard. You could have your freaking lender bring the hot dogs. Okay, it does not have to cost you a lot of money. We do one of the things. I've got a client actually here in Sacramento that does an Easter egg hunt every year. In fact, we do Easter egg hunts all over the country, and we're getting anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000. In fact, the most we had was 4,600 people at one Easter egg hunt. Okay, Easter egg hunts are fantastic. Photos of Santa, lots of great examples of client events. Okay, but here's the key: the client event itself, that's 4 days per year. But the key is not the event. I don't even care if anybody shows up. The key is what happens 3 weeks before the event. What happens 3 weeks before the event? Yeah, of course you're going to market. So I knew everybody was going to say that. Of course you're going to send out email, text message, Facebook posts, Facebook messages, all that stuff, right? You'll do everything except for what you really need to do, which is call them. Call every single person in your sphere of influence. Now watch this. When you call them, what are you going to say? It's not an open house, it's a client event. But yes, that would be better than 99% of the real estate agents out there because most agents won't even make the call, right? So at least you're making that call. But I'll tell you this, I don't even bring up real estate. I don't even bring up my client event. I don't want to bring any of that up. Why? Because it's important to me that I do this. BROT. Write that down. Does anybody know what that stands for? Build relationships on trust. Build relationships on trust. If you have heard, watch this. Most of you have heard that people need to know, like, and trust you to do business with you. Is that true? Actually, no, it's not. They don't have to like you. I'm serious. In fact, I'll tell you right now, most of you would be well served to stop trying to get people to like you on your listing appointments. The vast majority of agents go into a listing appointment trying to get the person to like them, and they lose the listing. I go in, I focus on getting them to trust me, and I get 93%. If they list it with anybody, they are 93.25% likely to list with me. Okay? It's very simple, but it's because it's based on trust, not based on like. I can tell you right now, I've listed a lot of best friends, mother, sister, cousin, brothers' houses of real estate agents, right? Because even though they liked that person more than they liked me, they trusted that I was going to do one of 3 things for them, right? Watch this, guys. I've been on over 10,000 listing appointments. And I'll tell you right now, what I've learned on these appointments, and this is face-to-face with mom and pop, and I've learned there's only 3 things they care about, and you and I are not one of the 3. What are the 3 things they care about? Write these down. What are they? Who's going to give me the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache to me? That's exactly right. That's it. That's all they care about. Write that down. Most money, least time, least headache. Most money, least time, least headache. Liking you isn't even in the equation. They don't care. They can hate your guts if they think you're going to give them the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of hate to them. They'll sign. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you should go out there and try and get people to hate you, right? But my point is, when I'm talking to people, it's all about trust. Now, when I call my sphere of influence, in order to get them to trust me, I use the Ford technique. And this has been around since before I was born. Okay? What does Ford stand for? That's exactly right. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Write that down. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So when I call them up, let's say, for example, I'm calling Robert up. I'm going to say, Robert, man, it's good to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a while. Hey, man, how's the family doing? Oh, that's awesome. Great, man. What's going on at work? Oh, really? Are you still there? Man, that's great. What are you guys doing for fun nowadays? Oh, man, that sounds like a ton of fun. I got to look into that. What's next for you? Like, where are you guys headed from here? It's that kind of a conversation, right? Super, super, super low key. And I never, ever, ever bring up business unless he does. Ever. Okay? In fact, the worst thing you can possibly do, please don't fall into this trap. just whatever you do, don't have this like really great conversation and then say something stupid like, oh, by the way, if you were thinking of buying or selling a home or had a friend or family member who was, do you have a realtor you'd refer them to? Dude, you're like that dude on The Hobbit, right? With the little ring, my precious, right? I mean, come on. I mean, that is the worst, most self-serving script on planet Earth. If you agree with me on that, say yes. Because what do they now know about you? You don't really care about them. You care about you. And guys, there is truth in the adage that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And the best way for people to know that you care is to what? Actually care. Yeah, and think Brent Gove, okay? If you want people to trust you, be Brent Gove, right? Actually care about people, and guess what will happen? You will naturally build trust, and you won't need some cheesy script to get them to refer people to you. If that makes sense to you, say yes. Okay. All right. Now, from there, that's 4 calls per year, right? Then the week after my event, I'm going to call everybody in my sphere of influence again. The people that showed up, all I'm going to say is, man, it was really good to see you. I'm sorry we didn't get to spend more time together. Let's make sure we spend more time together at the next one. Won't that be great? Fantastic. Okay? Now, the people that did not show up, do not try and create FOMO. Okay? We're not trying to guilt people into working with us or doing stuff with us. Just be genuine and forward them, right? So all I want you to say when you call up those people that did not show up, write this down. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. That's it. Now watch this. This will be interesting. By a show of hands, how many of you have ever had somebody call you up just to say they were thinking about you? Raise your hand if you've ever had that happen. Keep your hand up if you remember who it was. Keep your hand up if it meant something to you and if you felt like maybe you trusted them just a little bit more. Guys, that's what we want to do. Okay, that's how you build a great sphere of influence, all right? Okay, so very important. Now, those are really, really easy ways to grow your sphere. That's 12 days per year. Now, if you'll do that for 2 years in a row, right? That's all you got to do that for 2 years. And guess what? Instead of 10% of that your sphere of influence and closed transactions per year, you'll be at north of 20%. Very simply. Now, what are you going to have to do in the meantime? Write this down. Diversify my lead flow. Diversify my lead flow. This is super important. Guys, we want to grow our sphere, but to do that, we need to get leads from all kinds of different sources, bring them in and treat them like gold, give them world-class customer service, and create a bigger sphere as a result. If that makes sense to you, say yes. Okay? And so the idea is we want to have a whole bunch of lead sources. If I want to make 6 figures a year, then I'll even say if I want to make, let's say, $250,000 a year in this market, I'm going to want to have about 10 different lead sources, okay? Now, I don't have time today to go through all the different lead sources, but how about this? How many of you would like a list of 17 of my favorites? Raise your hand if you like 17. Okay, so grab your phones. This even works on iPhones. You guys got this feature a couple years after we did. Is that bad? You can tell I'm an Android guy. All right, so just I want you to send a text message to do it right now. Send it to 727-287-5993. Okay, 727-287-5993. Send the words Club Wealth to that number. That's 2 words, capital C, capital W. Send that to 727-287-5993. If you do it right now, instead of the 17, I'll give you 31 of my favorite lead sources. If you wait till we're gone today, I'll still give you the 17. I want you to send the words Club Wealth, CLUBWEALTH, Club Wealth to the number 727-287-5993. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, guys, when you're making calls, let's see, how many of you call FSBOs and expireds, by the way? Raise your hand if you call FSBOs and expireds. Okay, keep your hand, put them up really high. I want to see those hands. Keep them up if you called them yesterday. Yeah, look at that, how the hands just went down. Guys, you're all complaining about, oh, there's all this competition for FSBOs and expired. I heard that last night, didn't I, boys? Yeah. Oh, that won't work in my market, Michael, because they're all gone, man. Too many people call them. Guys, nobody's calling FSBOs and expireds. I'm telling you, there's not as much competition as you think, and they're easy to get. My son we had our big event here a couple weeks ago in Nashville, Tennessee. On stage, he had somebody, while he was on stage teaching, somebody's like, that won't work in my market. He says, what market are you in? They told him their market. So he gets on his computer. He had his computer hooked up to the internet during the event, had it on the big screen because he knew this was going to happen. And so he says, what market are you in? They told him the market. He pulls up that market on Zillow. Pulls up FSBOs. He sorts by owner marketed on Zillow. Pulls up all the for sale banners on Zillow in their market. In 10 minutes, he set 2 listing appointments. If he can do it, you can do it. Don't tell me physicals and expireds don't work. Now, I will tell you this. If you're going to call physicals and expireds, do not use your freaking cell phone, because what will happen? You will. It's not if, it's when. You will get spammed out. That means you will start showing up as spam likely on people's caller ID. The other thing that's probably going to happen is that it's bad. You don't want that. The other thing that will probably happen is you'll get what's called ghosted. And that means when you call them, you hear it ring on your end, but they don't hear it ring on their end. That's a real problem, okay? That's affecting how many people you're able to talk to. And so what I recommend is I like a product called, it's called Prospect Boss. So if you go, in fact, what I'm going to do is you don't even need to write it down. By texting that number, I'm going to give you a free trial to their product. I'll give you a 14-day free trial to their product. I have, at any given time, anywhere from 35 to 150 ISAs that call for me. And all of them are using Prospect Boss to make those calls. This event you didn't, but when I do the half-day events, we call out for this. That's the only way we're able to get through to people. It's a massive impact. All right, that being said, lead generation is important, but you know what's even more important than lead generation? It's lead follow-up. And I love it. I love it. I love that you had I saw a little Glenn Ross up here. The leads are weak, right? I like to people come to me and they'll be like, "Oh, Michael, those leads suck." You know what I like to say? No, you freaking suck. Because what's a lead? A lead is a human being that raised their hand and said, "I'm interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future." That's it. Like, what more do you want? You want them to walk up and hand you money? I mean, a lead's a lead. The key is the follow-up, and there's 2 keys to lead follow-up. Write these down. Number 1 is speed to lead. You literally have 30 seconds to get to every lead. This is where teams have such a major advantage, right? If you don't get to that lead in 30 seconds, your chance of connecting with them drop dramatically. If you wait 5 minutes or longer to connect with a lead, your chances of ever connecting with them plummet by 900%. That is a very big number, you guys. All right, now, the next thing that's important is tenacity of follow-up, okay? Hear me loud and clear on this. Tenacity of follow-up and speed to lead will all day long make up for lack of skill, lack of talent, all that. You don't need any of that if you do these 2 things. Now, how tenacious will we do follow-up? There's 7 different ways that I want you to follow up. Write these down. Phone, text, email, video text, video email. Phone, text, email, video text, video email. Phone, text, email, video text, video email. Okay? Now, that's 5. Number 6 is we're going to use AI. But before you even write the word AI down, I want you to write down automation equals augmentation. Automation equals augmentation. Now, why is this important? Because everybody in this business right now is trying to automate their way out of business. They're trying to get the automation to do everything for them. Guys, let me tell you something. Think about Warren Buffett. When everybody's zigging, he's zagging, right? Guys, everybody, let me tell you, if it was possible to automate you out of the business, they would have already done it. Okay? There's billions of dollars trying to automate you out of the business right now. But you know why it's not happening? You know what's actually starting to tick upwards? It's relationship-based business, right? This is a relationship business, and people want to work with a trusted advisor. So what you need to do is, like, when you start teaching them the investor side of it, you start getting your sphere of influence to buy one house every, 1 to 4 houses a year. All of a sudden, you become a trusted advisor, right? So not only will they only use you, they will only refer you. Okay, that's a very big deal. So I love automation, and I want you to use it. One of the best products out there for automation right now is called Ylopo. Okay, now it's expensive. Probably the only person in this room that should even consider using it is Steve. Are you already using it? Okay, it's like $3,500 a month to use it properly, right? It's a great AI product, but I highly recommend it. Another one that I really like is Black Hat, BLACKHAT. Black Hat's only, I think it's $400 a month. And what it does is when you get a lead that comes in, it automatically text messages the lead, and it makes them think that it's your assistant, and it's really good AI, so they can't tell the difference. They think it's a human being. And then it'll have like 5 or 6 back and forth text messages. You want to kind of intercept it at about the 5th or 6th text message. But it will buy you time. That's the real advantage here, is it buys you time, and it also helps you connect with people that don't want to talk on the phone. Okay? Now, so it's Black Hat, BLACKHAT. If you go to clubwealth.com/Black Hat, then there's a link there for it. All right, so check this out. It gets even more interesting. So number 7, okay, besides the AI piece, number 7 is Facebook stalking. Now, this is one everybody thinks I'm joking when I say this. But I want you to understand, people need to see or hear or experience your name 7 to 10 times before it'll even register with them. This is a big deal, right? So if I'm having a hard time getting a lead, I'll go to Facebook and I'll find them on Facebook and I'll send them a direct message. Now, guess what? They're not going to see it because it's going to go into their filtered messages. But guess what will happen? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into their feed and I'm going to find a place where they're talking back and forth with somebody else, and I'm going to hit reply to one of their comments. That's going to tag them in my comment. Now they're going to see it. And so my comment is simply, hey, Susie, it's Michael. Just want to let you know I've been trying to get a hold of you. I sent you, by the way, here's my phone number, and I sent you a direct message. It probably went into your filtered messages. You may want to check there. Now watch this. Is she going to call me? Zero chance. What is she going to do? She's going to go to her filtered messages. She's going to open up my message, and the second she does, what's Facebook think? Thinks we at least know each other. And so now Facebook's going to start serving her up, not a lot, but just a little bit of my content. Just a little bit, okay? It doesn't take a lot. And all of a sudden, I've got 5 or 6 touches. This is a very big deal. And so, guys, I'm telling you, Facebook stalking actually works. And then what will happen is they'll start stalking you on Facebook, right? Which gets you even more engagement with them. And now when you combine that with your text messages and your calls, all of a sudden now you're that guy that's everywhere. You're that gal that's everywhere. And when you talk to them, they're like, oh, yeah, you're the one from Facebook, right? Yes, that's me, right? Yes, sir. Phone, text, email, video text, video email, AI, and then Facebook stalking. There's your 7. Phone, text, email, video email, AI, Facebook stalking. All right, now, let's go through a real life scenario. First of all, how many of you are getting online leads? Raise your hands if you're getting some online leads. Oh, this is bad. Are you kidding me? Okay, how many of you plan to be in real estate next year? Okay, you better be getting online leads, guys, because let me tell you, guess what 92% of all buyers do? They start their search online. And fully 72% of those work with the first agent that they come in contact with that doesn't drop the ball on follow-up. Guys, let that sink in a second. If you're not getting online leads, you are missing out on 92% of the business right now. You need to get online leads, okay? All right, so watch this. Let's just use an example. I get an online lead comes in. What's the first thing I do? That's going to happen right away, but I actually use Black Hat. So it's going to happen right away. So we're going to send the text, but I'm going to call them. The first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to call them. I don't even look the lead up. I just call them. I can look it up while it's ringing. Now, if they don't answer, what do? No. Do not leave a message. Don't send them a text. What's that? That sounds aggressive. What's your name? What is it? Kate? You nailed it, Kate. I'm going to hang up. It's called the double dial. Write that down. Double dial. I'm going to hang up the phone immediately. I'm going to call them right back. Y'all know Chris Heller? Chris Heller's a good friend of mine. Heller, the home seller down in San Diego, right? He was the president of Keller Williams for a while. Then he was the president of Ojo. Now he's also the president of Movado, which just sold. Chris and I are absolutely religious about this. Hang up and double dial. And here's the number I want you to write next to the double dial. 35%. 35% of the time they'll pick up the phone on that double dial. Guys, I want you to think about how much money that makes you. That is massive time savings, okay? So if they don't pick up on that second dial, what do? Now I'm going to text them, and I'm only going to send 3 words. Is this whatever name they registered with? Okay? Is this Susie? And Susie's going to reply back most of the time with either yes, who is this, or simply who is this? Okay? Now, folks, ladies especially. Ladies, raise your hand if you have kids. Ladies with the kids? Okay, watch this. You get a call from a number you don't recognize. You don't answer, they don't leave a message. They call you right back. You don't answer, they don't leave a message. Then they send you a text message. Is this your first name? You respond back, yes, who is this? And then they send, calling you now. What are you thinking? Something's wrong with one of my kids, right? They're either in jail or the hospital, depending on which kid it is, right? So guess what they do 82% of the time? They pick up the phone. Let that sink in. Guys, you want to get more money out of your lead generation and your lead follow-up. This is how you do it. Okay? So they'll pick up that phone. Now, watch this. How many anxious moms would I have out there? How many of you think you'd be a little anxious on this one? Okay, right? So watch this. Here's what I would do. Watch me turn her from anxious to advocate in 30 seconds. Man, I am so sorry. I did not mean to cause you any anxiety. I just want to make sure I wasn't dropping the ball on my end. You had reached out to us on 123 Main Street, and I just wanted to know if you wanted to know the price of that or if you'd like to go take a look at it. She's like, oh. That's literally what happens. You can hear it on the phone. You'll hear them come down and relax, and all of a sudden they're, oh, well, we just want to know the price. Or, yeah, we'd like to see the inside of it, or whatever, right? Super simple, guys. Works every time. All right, now, this lead follow-up process is really important. But when I'm following up with my leads, guess what I got to do? I got to convert them, right? And I'm telling you right now, most of you in this room do not have a lead generation problem. You have a lead follow-up and lead conversion problem. Okay, and so first and foremost, when it comes to lead follow-up, here's what I want you doing. Remember I told you what I'd want you, that I would teach you how to make this money in 20 hours a week or 22 and a half hours a week? Here's the perfect daily schedule. Write this down. Perfect daily schedule. Most of you won't do it. I'll be impressed if most of you, if half of you do even a fraction of it. But if you want to make between 500 and $1 million this year, I want you in the office by 7:30 in the morning. What? But Michael, this is EXP. We're a virtual brokerage. Yeah, I don't care. I still want you in an office. Okay, you guys have access. Is it Regis you guys have now? Is that right? Is there a Regis nearby? And Brent made you a beautiful. I'm not even surprised at all that he did that. Of course he did. So go use the office and be in the office with other people that are making calls every day. So from 7:30 to 8, I want you to do a daily huddle with your team or your accountability partners. And then from 8 o'clock till noon, you know what I want you to do? Pick up the freaking phone. Because I got news for you. In Tier 1 and Tier 2, that's what it takes. And if you don't do this, I'm telling you right now, if you choose not to do this, you're going to be part of the 87% of the people that don't make it to their first renewal. Okay? 87% of agents do not renew their license on the first renewal. And it's because nobody wants to go in the office and make the calls. Now watch this. Steve doesn't have to do this. He's in Tier 5. He doesn't need to make these calls like that, right? Because guess what? He can afford to pay people to do it. He can afford to buy leads. He can afford to do a lot of stuff that most people can't do. So he's got different strategies that we employ, right? But for people in Tier 1 and Tier 2, this is what it takes to get out of Tier 1 and Tier 2 and get into Tier 3, okay? Now, what's that? 7:30 to 8, it's daily huddle with your accountability partner or your team. And then 8 o'clock till noon, you're hitting the phones. I don't want you to have any emails coming in, no text messages, no social media. I don't want you. If somebody walks into your office and wants to talk to you, you do this. You hold that hand up and you dial the phone. And when it's ringing, you can say, well, go ahead, what? And they start talking and the person answers and you're like, hey, how's it, blah, 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 right? Like literally you got to be that focused. I'm telling you right now, guys, the people that make the most money in this business are plain and simple the most disciplined. That's it. That's it. They're the ones that make the vast. Now, there's anomalies out there. There's some lazy people that just happen to be really good on TV, right? But that's rare, okay? All right, that said, the real key, though, is I've got to convert these people to clients, okay? So in order to convert them to clients, I got to first convert them to an appointment, right? So when I'm making calls, what's my goal? Set an appointment. That's it. Stop worrying about the number of calls you make. I don't care about conversations. If you're focused on the number of conversations, in fact, I'll tell you what, I learned this from a guy right here in your market. How many of you know Luigi Caprio? Luigi, wonderful human being, right? He was one of our coaches. Marguerite Crispelli, you guys know Marguerite too? Also a wonderful human being, right? Also in this market, right? Is that you? Oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I got to give you a hug. How are you? Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I didn't know she snuck in. That's so funny. Okay, so one of the things that Marguerite and Luigi taught me, and I think you guys learned this from Mike, if I'm right, I could be wrong, but is focus on appointment set. Dude, this was a game changer for my life and for my business. I'm telling you, it's all about appointment set. You guys want to make $500,000 a year in this market right here? Literally all you had to do is write this down, 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week, with people you have not yet met, who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. I'll give it to you again. 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week, with people you have not yet met, who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. That's it. That's easy $500,000 a year. Maybe in your market might be almost $1 million. Okay? Again, last time, 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week with people you have not yet met who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. Now, you know who's better at lead conversion than real estate agents? Bartenders are pretty good. You're getting pretty close. What else? What other industries? Quickly. Car sales, pretty close. I guarantee you all know at least one of these. There's probably 1 or 2 in the room. Insurance, you're close. What's that? Dentist, even closer. What else? Nail salons? No. Guys, it's your drug dealer. What? Now relax, I'm a Mormon kid. I don't even drink coffee, let alone do drugs. All right, chill. It's just an example. But watch this. What do drug dealers know about lead conversion that real estate agents don't? Write this down. First one's free, then you got to pay. You got to give them a little tasty taste of the product. What's your product? It's not the houses. What's your product, guys? It's you. You are the product. So does that mean when you go to show somebody a house for the first time, in order for them to taste the product, you're going to let them lick your face? That'd be weird, right? I actually had a gal in a class last summer. She's like, I don't know, it's been a slow year. Like, okay, down girl. That was weird. So I want you to think about this, though. Like, legit. Like, guys, you got to get face-to-face. Watch this. How many of you sell better face-to-face than you do over the phone? Of course you do. We all do, right? And so get this. What you need to do, with most agents, when you get somebody on the phone, before you're going to go waste a bunch of time showing them houses, you want to make sure they get pre-qualified or pre-approved, right? That is sales prevention 101, guys. That's terrible. Stop doing that. You know, the next thing that's almost as bad, if not worse than that, is trying to get them to sign a buyer agency agreement before you even freaking go out to the house. That is so bad. That comes across as so entitled. Oh, you might as well put a sign up saying, don't work with me. Right? Like, it's seriously, it's terrible. Now, watch this. Do you need to get a buyer agency agreement signed before you go into the house? Yes, absolutely you do. That being said, you do that on the hood of your freaking car. Okay? And if they don't want to sign it, then you do a one-time buyer agency agreement, right, for just that house. And if they don't want to sign that, pound sand, I'm not opening the door. End of story. Okay? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. All right? So it's like somebody saying, I want to test drive the Maserati, but I'm not going to give you a copy of my driver's license. Really? Not going to happen, right? Nobody's going to let them do that. Okay? So that said, the goal is every freaking conversation, I want to get that appointment set, and I don't worry about pre-qual. Because guess what? If they don't qualify, worst case scenario, that's another referral source because I treated them with respect when others didn't, right? Great. Okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Do I want them to talk to my lender? Yes. And I'm going to give you a script that's going to get them to want to talk to your lender almost every time. Okay? And where's my lenders in the room? Raise your hand if you're a lender in the room. Where's my lenders? Okay? Guys, you need to get every one of your agents to use this script. Okay? Only after you set the appointment. First, you got to set the appointment and then say the exact following words. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? Would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? Last time, if they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? Everybody says yes, unless they're paying cash, right? All right, so get this. When they do, what do? You give the lender their phone number, right? No, because you know the only people that suck worse at follow-up than real estate agents, right? It's freaking lenders. Sorry, guys. I'm just throwing it out there. And you guys are probably the exception, I'm sure, right? Okay. That being said, you don't give them the lender's number either because they're guaranteed not going to call the lender. Some of you are like, oh, I'll three-way text them. That's weak. That's weak. That's like a lender saying, I'm going to email you a link and you can go fill out an application. That's freaking weak. Stop that garbage, okay? Here's what needs to happen. I'm going to three-way call my lender in right now, but I'm not going to just three-way call one lender in. I'm going to call a number. Now, if you what doesn't EXP give you guys a CRM? What do they give you? KV Core. Great. I don't know if it does this or not, but you can use if you're using KV Core, then, which by the way, for free, I love KV Core. Okay, you can't beat it for free. It's great. So that's one thing you don't need to spend money on. By the time you get into tier 3 or tier 4, you'll probably do a little bit different scenario on your CRM. Yeah, maybe if you're using Zillow. That said, what I want you to do is I want you to use a product called Callingly. So it's Callingly. If you go to clubwealth.com/Callingly, there's a link. So we get a discount. Pretty much anything you can buy in this business, we get a discount on it. And so it's like $50 a month. But what it does is when you call that number, you can set it up. So everybody in this room should have 2 lenders. Okay? And why do I say 2 lenders? Because you need like your core lender. This is the person that's coming to your client events and the person that you're doing the most business with and all that. And you need to make sure you're sending that person enough business that if you pulled it away from them, it's going to hurt, right? Because I got news for you. The big mistake most agents make, what's your name? Mark? So they'll go to a lender like Mark and they'll say, hey man, will you pay for some of my ad spend? Dude, stop it. Like until you've sent him enough business that it's going to hurt if you leave him, you have no business asking him for anything, right? Write this formula down. Give, ask, receive. Give, ask, receive. You want to know who one of the best in the business at this is? It's Brent freaking Gove. Let me tell you something. That guy is a giver from the word go. And here's what's interesting. He doesn't care if he ever receives. He just gives to give. That's a whole nother level. We'll talk about some other time. But what I want you to do is I want you to give to that lender, give to that lender, give to that lender, and then eventually you'll earn the right to ask. And then you'll naturally receive, okay? Now, that being said, I want to have two of them because I never want one pig at the trough, right? If you have one pig at the trough, they'll eat the food, they'll get fat, eventually get bacon. That's great. But if you have two pigs at the same trough, they compete for the food. They both get fatter faster, you get more bacon sooner. Good stuff, right? Who doesn't like bacon? By the way, if you're a vegetarian, I'm sorry. Who doesn't love bacon? I mean, come on. All right, I'm sure they got vegetarian bacon somewhere. Anyway, that being said, here's the deal. I want two pigs at every trough. So in every position in my companies, I never have one person. I'll give you a great example. Steve, we were talking about assistants and ISAs and all that stuff earlier, right? Dude, never, ever, ever, like recruiters are a great example. Never hire one recruiter. You hire 2 to 4 recruiters at a time. You're going to keep 1 out of 4. Right? But you always want to have 2 on the team at any given time because they're going to make each other better, right? And you're never going to know how good is if you don't have more than one, right? And so I need to make sure I've got more than one pig at the trough. So when it comes to my lenders, I'm going to have this system set up so that it's going to automatically call blast. When I call the one number, it's going to blast that call to not only both of my lenders, but everybody on their teams that's capable of taking a loan application over the phone. What this means is on 7 o'clock on a Friday night, I get a great person on the phone that's qualified and capable of taking a loan app right now. And guys, you need to make sure your lender is trained on 2 things. And I'll tell you right now, I would never work with a lender that's not trained on these 2 things. Number 1, they absolutely, period, end of story, will take that application over the phone right now. Period. There's no, here's the link, send me, fill it out and let me know when you got it filled out. That's garbage. They walk them through. People are intimidated by this process, okay? It's really important we hold their hand through this process, and that's the lender's job. So I'm going to get that lender on the phone, let them do that, and I'm peace out. Next, my lenders have to be skilled at endorsing me. Okay, so you've got to get really good at endorsing your lenders, and you got to get them really good at endorsing you. So you have to teach them what a good endorsement of you looks like. What is your articulation of value? What's your statement of authority, for example? Write that down. Statement of authority. What is your statement of authority? Some people call it a USP, but a USP is actually different. The statement of authority is why you're the best at what you do. A USP is just a unique selling proposition. That's just, here's something unique that I do that others don't do. I want to know why you're the best. And if it's because I give great service, you're going to be out of this business pretty soon, okay? That's not a good USP, and it's not a good statement of authority, okay? So it doesn't matter what it is. We're not going to go deep into that today, but I want you to make sure that your lender's trained on that. And then you have to know what their statement of authority is. So when you guys are cross-endorsing each other with this buyer, guess what? They're not going anywhere else. They're going to be loyal to both of you. If this makes sense to you, say yes. Okay, it's a very big deal. All right, now, how many of you work with buyers? Raise your hands. How many of you work with sellers? Raise your hands. How many of you work with both buyers and sellers? Okay, that's awesome. It's like a stick up in here. Okay, so here's the problem. Who makes more money? General practice doctors or specialists? What did you all just tell me you are? Yeah. So y'all told me you want to make more money. Would it surprise you if I told you that Zillow did a study proving what I've been teaching for 34 years? Chris and I started this years and years ago. And that is workflow segmentation. So the further you can segment the workflow, the more money you will make. And what Zillow found is that people that are solo agents on their own, not on a team, solo agents, make 25% less in net income than agents who are on a team even after they pay the team split. Because the agents, and I'm talking about agents that specialize in working with either buyers or with sellers. Isn't that interesting? Now, if I could tell you in a 30-second test which one you'd be uniquely qualified to work with, how many of you would like to know that? Raise your hands if you'd like to know that really quick. Okay? Then we'll do a quick test. Everybody close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. Just close them really quick. All right, I'm going to describe 2 different personality types. Okay? Close your eyes. Dave, close your eyes. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 different personality types. And when I describe the one that best fits you, I want you to raise your hand. Personality type number 1. I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna find out kind of where they're at, what their goals are, and I'm gonna educate them and guide them through the process. I'm gonna deliver world-class customer service. I'm gonna have them loving me so much they're gonna only use me and they're gonna only refer me for the rest of their lives. If that describes you, raise your hand. Look at that. Great. Lots of people. Okay, good. Now, keep your eyes closed. Personality type number 2. I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna kick the front door down. I'm going to punch him in the face. I'm going to make him sign. Then I'm going to hand it off to somebody else while I go to get the next one. If that describes you, raise your hand. Oh, look at, there's all my listing agents in the room. You can go ahead and open your eyes now. Now, a lot of you didn't raise your hand on either one. For you, I need you to write down the following script. This is the one script you are going to need to memorize. It's very important. So write this down. It's very simple. It's not complicated at all. Just write this down. Would you like fries with that? Yeah. And if you're still writing, you probably are in the wrong room. I'm just throwing it out there. Guys, and by the way, I'm just joking. Obviously, McDonald's doesn't need you. They've got kiosks now. So I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to have to learn some AI or something. I don't know. All right, but you get my point. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you should specialize in one or the other. Now, I don't have time to walk you through the listing process. I'm just going to give you a couple of scripts really quick before I wrap up. There's one last thing I'm going to teach you at the very end. I'm trying to keep you on time. How many of you can give me 10 extra minutes? Raise your hand if you can give me 10 extra minutes. Okay, good. So you're good? All right, I got to make sure the boss is okay with it. All right, so, as long as you're good, I'm good. If you're not good, I'm not good, because then I'm going to hear from Brent. All right. Sounds good. All right. So I'm happy. And by the way, I'll stay for as long after as you guys have questions. Happy to answer questions. And I just want to help you guys out, okay? Very truly, like, if I can help you out, it helps Brent out. And I really want to help Brent out, okay? Because I really like that guy. All right. So here we go. The last thing I'm going to teach you is how on that $500,000 house, instead of making $12,500, I'm going to show you how to make $25,000. And have your clients freaking love you for it. But before I do that, there's a couple of things I want to share with you. I'm going to give you a couple of scripts. Okay? I want you to write these down. The first script I'm going to give you is the lead follow-up script. Instead of calling people up and saying, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to sell yet? I want you to say the following. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. That's it. And it's very disarming. And what happens is you've just positioned yourself as a servant who cares. And that's how we want to be positioned, right? And so when you say that, their instant reaction is almost always, oh, no, it's not you, it's me. Right? It's like that girl in high school, right, guys? Okay, maybe some of you guys didn't have to deal with that. I got that a lot. And by the way, guys, if the girl says it's not you, it's me, bro, it's you. Yeah, let's be real, all right? So Marguerite's over there like, yep, said that a few times. All right. So that said, all it is I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. And what happens is now you're invoking the law of reciprocity because they feel guilty. They feel like, and by the way, this increases your chances of getting that business, I'm telling you. Because now they feel like, oh, we should have followed up with you. We didn't. Now we're going to work harder at being more responsive. All right, next, when you show a house, this is so simple and so easy. You guys, most people, when they show houses, are completely freaking dropping the ball. Most of you are not asking a good closing question. In fact, if I asked you guys right now, how many of you have a memorized question that you ask on every showing to get them to write an offer? Raise your hand if you have a memorized one and you're willing to share it. Okay? What do you say? Which one are we putting an offering on? That is better. Watch this. Did you notice that you're the only one in the room? Actually, the one gal behind you. There's two people in the entire room raise their hand that have one of these. And I'm telling you right now, that is light years better than 99% of the agents out there. Good for you. That's awesome. Let me give you the script I use. Okay? Very simple. At the end of every showing on each house, I'm going to ask, at what price would this be a great deal for you? At what price would this be a great deal for you? At what price would this be a great deal for you? Steve liked that one. Now watch this. I'm showing a $500,000 house. They come back and they say $250,000. What do I do? Laugh? No. I write it up for $250,000. I'm telling you right now, if you don't, here's what's going to happen. They're going to go find somebody who will. They're going to immediately in their head, they're going to say, if you're not willing to fight for me, I will go find somebody who will. Now, are they going to get it for $250,000? No, that's not the point. Guys, write this down. Be on my client's side. Be on my client's side. You always have to be on your client's side. Okay? Even if they're wrong, you got to be on your client's side. Now, are you going to educate them? Yes, gently. Emphasis on the word gently. Okay? You can gently educate them through this process, but the worst thing you can do is say, oh, they're not going to take that. The second you say that, you're done. Okay? So you got to be very careful with this. Now, on a listing appointment, I don't have time to go through the door approach. By the way, let me ask you this. How many of you would like me to come back and speak with you again? Raise your hand if you'd like to have me come back. Oh, that's all. Okay, good. So, Robert, did you catch? Okay, just throwing it out there. There's rumor. Can I say it? Am I allowed to say it about Cabo? Okay. There's rumor I might get to come speak with you in Cabo. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited. I got goosebumps even saying it because that's a big deal. Like that's Brent's big event, right? Like super excited. All right. So that being said, when we do that, I'll walk you through the door approach on the listing and some other stuff. What's that? I know they do, but we just don't have time. Okay, I'll do it. You guys want to hear it? Okay, I'll do it really fast. I need 2 victims. I mean volunteers. Marguerite, come on up. I need Marguerite and Steve. Come on up, guys. I'm going to use Marguerite and Steve for this. All right. I can't believe you goaded me into this. I really don't have time for it, but we're going to hustle and do this, okay? I didn't. She's like, I can't believe you voluntold me. I love you. You're awesome. And so, by the way, I like your sweater. That's awesome. Come on over here. Okay. All right, so Marguerite, you're going to stand right here. Steve, you're going to be right over here. Okay, so watch this. Guys, I'm telling you right now, in the first 30 seconds, you're either going to get the listing or lose the listing in the first 30 seconds. If you agree with me on that, say yes. Okay, and by the way, you have the rest of the appointment to completely freaking screw it up. I'm not kidding. Like, the first 30 seconds matter most, okay? So, and by the way, if you want to record this on your phones, highly recommend it, but I only ask you one favor. Please make sure you post it on social media using the hashtag ClubWealth. That's all I ask, okay? And then my team will find it, and they'll tag me and all that good stuff. So in the first 30 seconds, it's very simple. This will get you the listing the vast majority of the time. First and foremost, you always knock first, then ring the doorbell, okay? Always. And always knock really, really loud. Ring the doorbell. Take a step back. Give them some space, okay? They come to the door. Steve, it's so nice to finally meet you in person. Marguerite, I am so glad Susie referred you to us. Hey, do you mind if I get a few pictures before we get started on the paperwork? Now, hold on. Would I really do that? What do you think? Would I really do that? Absolutely, I do that. Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something. I was listing 50 to 75 houses a month, not counting REO, which is about half my business. That's just retail. Just myself working 12 days a month using this approach. And every single agent I'm aware of today that lists north of 100 homes a year is using some version of what I just showed you. Now, watch this. This gets even more interesting. Let me break it down what exactly I did. So when I went in, I shook Steve's hand, I turned his hand over, and I pointed my index finger down his wrist. This is a control position. You want to know who else does this? Donald J. Trump. Only he adds the pull. Sorry, I didn't mean to break your neck there. And Steve's a really tough guy, so I had to catch him by surprise or I wouldn't have got him on that. But seriously, like he'll remember the little French dude? He pulls him right in, right? So at the end of the day, though, that's a control position, and I need to get into control right from the get-go. The next thing I do is I always make eye contact and while I'm mentioning them by name. Is it blue and blue? Are you both blue eyes? Is it green, blue? I can't even freaking tell on yours. Hazel? You're green. Okay, whatever. The lighting in here. But the point is I made the effort to make eye contact and by trying to notice their eye color. That will help you make better eye contact. Next, I mentioned him by name. Very important. And then when I got to Marguerite, do you remember what I did with her? That's exactly right. I did the same thing. By the way, get in there web to web, turn their hand over, index finger down the wrist, and by the way, it's always 3 pumps. Don't be an over pumper. Weird. Okay?
Do not do soft handshakes with women.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that. I agree 100%. All right, and by the way, ladies also don't be touching the elbow and the shoulder. There was a gal, and you know who she is. I'm not going to mention her name. But there was a gal in your market that was doing some coaching for another company at one point in time, and she was teaching appropriate touch. Let me just tell you, ladies, there's no such thing as appropriate touch when you're in another woman's house and it's her husband you're touching, okay? Like, I don't care if she's a jealous by nature or not. Sometimes, like, you don't even need to be flirting. He may have given her a reason to be jealous. I'm telling you right now, if she even suspects or has a concern or hesitation whatsoever, you just lost $12,000 to $25,000 instantly. Yeah, it's game over, okay? So what I do, though, is I get in, I go web to web, pump that 3 times, look her straight in the eye and say, I'm so glad Susie referred you to us. That gives me a little bit of that relationship on trust, right? A little bit of instant rapport. And then, as I'm saying that, I'll say, do you mind if I get, and right here, she was trying to let go of my hand. Did you notice that? She tried to let go of my hand right when I got next to her. I don't release her hand until my arm is fully extended and I am in the house, okay? Oh. And then I say, hey, do you mind if I get a few pictures before we get started on the paperwork? What does she say every freaking time? Oh, no, she's going to start with, oh, but my house is such a mess. And I guarantee, watch this, I guarantee Marguerite and probably 90% of the women in here are cleaning the house before the housekeeper gets there, right? I know who you are. So you don't clean it before she gets there. My wife's one of those. My wife's in the back, by the way. I freaking love you, honey. But that's my wife to a T. She'll literally clean the house before the housekeeper gets there. Guys, I don't care how immaculate a woman's house is. They always think it's a mess. Okay? And so I'll always say, don't worry. These aren't for the marketing. This is just for my information and my team's information. Now, what did I just tell her? I have a team which eliminates 90% of the competition. It is really, really hard for a solo agent to compete with a good team. Really hard. Number 2, what else did I tell her? I'm not going to be using it for marketing, but I am going to be marketing your house. I'm here to get it done. We're not here to talk. I'm listing your house. That's exactly right. So next, she'll say, okay, and I'll start walking upstairs, and she'll say, but don't you want to start in the kitchen because that's her safe space, right? And by the way, what's his safe space? It doesn't freaking matter. We don't care about the guy, okay? I mean, let me be real about this, guys. Who's in charge, her or him? It's her, right? Like all the women just got that right. Did you hear like it was all women's voices just now? Okay, guys, let me just say this. Any man that says he wears the pants in the family probably lies about other things too, okay? So, but seriously, you got to know this. About 1 out of 100 times you'll encounter an abusive household. There's 3 telltale signs. There will be holes in doors and walls. He won't let her get a word in edgewise, and she'll defer every question to him. If anyone, and especially if more than one of those is going on, then you address him and not her. That's only about 1% of the time. The rest of the time, it's all about her. So I'll say, nope, I've got a system. I always start upstairs, and I'll start walking upstairs as I'm asking her, am I going to run into anybody in bedrooms or bathrooms? And then what do you think she does? I'm walking upstairs. What's she going to do? She's going to follow right behind me. Guys, your girl's following some strange guy upstairs. What are you going to do? Dude, I'm like the Pied Piper of real estate, walking everybody through the house, right? It's fantastic. Now, this is a critical moment because guess what I'm going to do with these guys during the walkthrough? I'm going to build relationships on trust. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to ask her open-ended questions about her family or occupation, recreation, dreams. And I'm telling you right now, guys, you need to get her all talked out before you get downstairs. She's got to have nothing left to say. And I'm telling you guys, you got to make sure she feels heard, understood, and valued before you get downstairs. Otherwise, you'll hear something crazy like, oh, but Michael, our house is worth $400,000 more than the neighbor's house, even though their house is, on a bigger lot and twice the square footage as ours. But we've got ceramic tile in the primary bathroom. Right? You ever had that seller? Yeah? I need to be able to say, you know what, Marguerite, I did see that ceramic tile, and it is beautiful. And by the way, I did notice there was a crack in the backsplash, but don't worry, it's not going to affect your price by that much. Now, what did I just do? Slap. Right? You got to find an appropriate way to show her that, hey, look, I'm not an expert in the room. I'm the expert in the room. And you have to do that without offending her. Okay? This is mission critical. Otherwise, this is what happens at the table. Okay? So if I can accomplish that and I'll know I've accomplished that when she starts nodding her head along with me. And once I've got her doing this, it's game over, dude. I'm getting everything I want, okay? Now, during the walkthrough, I don't even address him. He's going to be eager puppy, okay? You know what I mean by that? Like, he's going to find ways to inject himself into that conversation. That's fine, but everything's addressed to her. Now, I got to get the TVs and radios turned off before we get downstairs. And then the last thing I got to do is I got to get rid of the 2 biggest killers of listings. You guys know what those are? Kids and pets. I literally did an entire listing presentation with my hand in the mouth of a full-size poodle. Kid you not. It bit on my hand under the table and it didn't break the skin, but it freaking hurt, right? So my 20-minute checklist went to a 10-minute checklist that fast. But you got to get rid of the kids and the pets. So what I'll do is I'll say, hey, Margaret, would it be okay with you if we just put the kids in the kennel and the pets in the other room while we go over the paperwork? No, really. And she'll be like, okay. And she'll get rid of the kids and the pets. Okay, I'm telling you right now, guys, you've got a lot of money on the line. Get rid of those little monsters. I mean, beautiful cherubs or whatever you want to call them. All right. So that being said, could you guys give them a round of applause? Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you coming up here. Thank you. Thank you, Marguerite. Okay, now watch this. Is that? Oh my gosh! Are you freaking kidding me? It's Tom freaking Days. What are you doing, brother? Dude. I can't believe you put the bike away to come see me.
He called me out. This guy, great coach. One thing that I'll never forget.
Oh, jeez.
Goals suck. Habits rule. Right?
100%. 100%.
Thank you,
Dude,
man.
thank you for that. That's so good to see you. Can you guys get Tom a round of applause? What a freaking stud. If you don't know him yet, you need to. Now, Tom, I got to remind you, Tom. You remember, so I used to coach Tom back when he was number one at Keller Williams, and I think I mentioned this to you guys earlier. But Tom, do you remember when I started? Then I started coaching Leo, and all of a sudden he was number one, and I didn't get to coach you anymore. Do you remember that? And watch this, brother. Let me tell you something. You ran one of the most efficient operations I've ever seen. And I'm very serious about that. And guys, you need to get to know Tom if you don't know him already. Tom, thanks for stopping by, brother. It's good to see you. Love you. He is so cool, dude. All right. Really quick, because I got to teach you this, and then I got to wrap up. Isn't that cool that he stopped by? Oh, that's pretty neat, right? I forgot where I was going with this. So the script. So the listing agent script. When you're on that listing appointment, at the end of the appointment, so I've gone through my whole checklist, right? It's all done. Now I'm ready to get her to sign on the bottom line. So what I do is I stick the key box right between me and Mrs. Seller, because that freaks her out. She'll go, oh, this stuff just got real. Like, we're doing this, right? I never, ever, ever use electronic documents on the listing appointments. That's a huge mistake. Because I'm telling you right now, guys, what happens when you drop your iPad and it breaks? You just lost 12 to 25 grand. Because I got news for you. If you don't get it on the first appointment, your chances of getting a listing plummet afterwards. Okay. Next, what if the battery dies, operating system crashes, or heaven forbid they don't have internet? Right? That's 12 to 25 grand you just lost over a piece of equipment. So listing appointments we always do with pen and paper. We also carry 4 blue ink pens and 1 red ink pen on every appointment. Why? Because that saves me 8 minutes on every appointment. So I've got 1 pen for me, 1 for Mr. Seller, 1 for Mrs. Seller, and a spare in case we run out of ink. The red one is for making changes to my checklist. So if they bring up something that I haven't encountered before, I make a change on my checklist, hand that off to my assistant when I get back to the office, and then guess what happens? All of a sudden now, my assistant knows if she sees red, change all future checklists to include that item. So every appointment I go on, my checklist gets better and better and better and better. Can you imagine how good you'd be after 10 appointments like that? How about 100? How about 10,000 like I've been on? Guys, it gets really good really fast. How many of you would like a copy of my checklist, by the way? Raise your hands. Okay, watch this. I'm gonna tell you what I'm going to do. Okay, I got to think of the easiest way to do this without creating a nightmare for myself. So I'm going to create a nightmare for Tara. So I want you to email, if you'd like my checklist, I want you to email with your contact info. Send it to michael@clubwealth.com. michael@clubwealth.com. Tara will get it. Actually, her assistant will get it. Camille will probably get it. And then Tara, could you just have them respond with that checklist? Please? Thank you. So she'll take care of that. Just send me an email there. All right, so here's the deal. I get done with my checklist. I got to look Mrs. Seller in the eye. So I need okay, here we go. Tell me your name. Carrie? All right, Carrie, look at me right here. You look at me in the eye? Okay. I need everybody's eyeballs up here. Every single person's got to be looking at me before I share this with you, okay? So if you can't see me, position yourself so you can. You might want to record this. This is the single best script that's made me more money than any other script I've ever used, and it's super easy and super effective, okay? So I get done with my checklist. I'm going to look. It's Carrie. I'm going to look Carrie square in the eye. Carrie, are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork?
No, not at all.
Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. That's literally how I close every listing. Now watch this. Did you see what I did there? I shook my head back and forth. And what did she do? She shook her head back and forth. And by the way, what are a huge number of you people doing right now too? You're shaking your heads back and forth. Guys, this is a neuro-linguistic programming technique. It's actually the easiest one to learn, the easiest one to implement, and arguably the most effective. Okay? What's more powerful, your conscious mind or your subconscious mind? Your subconscious mind, and it cannot tell the difference between reality and what you tell it to believe. This technique works really well. If I want to get a yes, I'll nod my head. And look what a bunch of people are doing already, right? And they know what I'm doing, and they're still doing it. And so are you, by the way. And you're still trying to fight it, but you can't fight it, can you? Right? It's hard to fight, isn't it? Yeah. So you see that? All right. So, guys, the head nod and the head shake works really, really well. Now, before I go into this. What's that? Oh, you want me to give you the objections? Okay. So here's the 3 big. I'll give you the number 1 objection that you'll get from most people will be commission. If all you get out of today is this one thing, this is going to change your freaking career. I promise you. Okay. Everybody draw this on your page. You know the biggest problem most of you have right now in this business is you're telling people how much you charge. Huge mistake. Stop telling people what you charge. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, but Michael, don't I have to tell them what I charge at some point? Sort of. The problem is when you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to charge you 10% or 20%. It doesn't matter what the number is, right? But when you tell people, hey, I charge this much, then guess what happens? You've just created an ultimatum. You've said, if you don't pay me this, I won't work for you. That's boxing me in the corner. Nobody likes to be boxed in the corner, right? Remember Baby from Dirty Dancing, right? Nobody puts Baby in the corner, okay? So some of you are way too young for that. So anyway, my point is this. What do people like? They like options. So give them options. I started doing this in 1991 when I started using these menus. There's 3 menus, and everybody in this room needs 3 menus. Okay, you need a buyer menu, a seller menu, and everybody in this room should be recruiting to your downline. You need a recruiting menu as well. I'm going to do a seller menu with you really quick, okay? If in fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you guys remind me, Steve, would you remind me, and Margaret, if you guys could remind me at Cabo, make sure I do a recruiting menu. If we could, that would be a good one to do in Cabo, or maybe even a buyer menu. All right, so watch this. I want you to write down basic, standard, premium. Okay, this is a game changer, guys. Now, you can't share this with anybody else. If you do, you're violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. So don't share it with your neighbor, okay? You can share it with your team leader, your broker owner, your attorney, your spouse, and your clients, but not with other agents, okay? Now, above basic, I want you to write down, what is the least amount you're going to charge? Like, I wouldn't even put your house on the MLS for less than that, okay? Put that above basic. Then I want you to skip over standard, go to premium. Above premium, I want you to write down, what is the most you would ever charge? Like, I couldn't in good conscience charge more than that. Put that above premium, okay? And then don't write it down yet, but above standard, I want you to write down, what do you really want to make? Now, before you write it down, it must be a minimum of 1% more than you're currently making. Minimum. Now, guys, remember I told you about that good-looking young guy, little Austin? Where's that little thing here? This little kid right here? Look at this guy. Remember I told you his numbers. First year, 97 listings. Second year, 121 listings. Third year, 164 listings. Average sales price, $600,000. Average commission on the listing side to him, 5%. Oh, I got your attention now. Guys, whatever you're doing right now, it's weak if you're not doing what he's doing. I'm telling you right now, this is how you do it, and it's not hard. You just have to make a decision that you're going to do it. Okay, here's how it works. Okay, so you put whatever you want up there, but you put your number above standard. It better be at least 1% that you're currently getting. All right. Now here we go. What do I have to do to put a house on the market? I got to put it in the MLS. Okay, in order to do that, I got to take at least one photo. Right. Okay. Then what am I going to put on the front door? Lockbox. Okay, and then out front, going to put a sign. And then this is really, I don't know if this is very popular in California, but like in the South and in Utah, it's super popular. I'm going to pray and hope that somebody else sells it because Lord knows I'm not going to, right? I mean, seriously, it's like Rodney Dangerfield trying to sell a house. So at the end of the day, this is most agents' marketing plan, right? And it's freaking weak. But that's unfortunately what most agents do. Now, rapid fire, what can be done to sell a house quickly? Staging. Okay, I put that over here. Pro photos. 3D. I could go along with that. Drone. I could do video. Okay. Cold call. Social media. Little S and M. Okay. Social media. What else? Well, geo. Yeah. Okay. Geo. We could do floor plan. Got that? Got the floor plan? Got that on there already? Okay, so watch this. I'm not going to go through all the stuff you can do. It's really simple, okay? Guys, go to your favorite AI program, right? I mean, you could use ChatGPT or you could use, a really cool program like Grok, a little Elon Musk there. But go to your favorite AI program, and what I want you to type in is I want you just to ask it, hey, what are all the things a real estate agent can do to bring value to a seller? And it's going to spit out a bunch of stuff. And here's why. Guys, watch this. So this bottle of water here, it's, is this the right one? Yep, this is it. So it's new. Well, not anymore. So it's 99%, water and probably 1% backwash at this point. Who'd give me $10 for this bottle of water? Nobody. $5? $1. You're all like, dude, you just spit in the freaking bottle. Like, I don't want that, right? Okay, how about this? What if I told you before you walked in today, I monkeyed with the air conditioning system, and you've all been poisoned, and you're going to die a horrible, painful, excruciating, ugly death, unless you get the antidote, which is in this bottle. Who'd give me $10 for it now? Raise your hand if you'd give me $10 knowing that you're going to die in the next 40 minutes if you don't, right? Okay? Who'd give me all the money you have? Like all of you would give me all your money, wouldn't you? Okay? Write this down. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Why am I telling you this? Because they don't care what you charge. That's make-believe in your head. That's limiting beliefs in your head. Your clients don't care what you charge. What they care is how much they make. That's it. Okay? So guys, you need to learn to sell this properly. And let me show you. It's not. So what I want to do is I want to build as much value as I can into my menu, stacking more value the further to the right I go. And here's how you sell it. You guys are going to probably want to record this, so get your phones ready. Okay. So I'm going to use, tell me your name again. No, right here in the front. Carrie, that's right. Okay, Carrie's going to be my seller. Okay. So Carrie, you ready for this? All right. So y'all ready? Takes a minute for those iPhones. By the way, if you got an Android, it's really nice. You just take your phone, with one hand, you just double-click that, and look, you're already on your camera. You guys will get that feature in a couple months. All right, so I'm just teasing. All right, so I start with my red pen, okay? So Carrie, right? So Carrie, I love your house. It shows great. It's a great house. I'm just concerned about the market. As we discussed, the market's down anywhere from 28 to 38%, depending on what neighborhood you're in year-over-year sales. And I'm just not sure this basic plan is going to be enough to get you top dollar for your home in the least amount of time with the least amount of hate to you. So if it's okay with you, should we just go ahead and cross that one off? Okay, fantastic. So we're going to cross that one off with my red pen. Then I skip over standard. I go to premium. So, Carrie, that being said, again, you've taken great care of it. It's a great floor plan. And, hey, you've got that ceramic tile in the primary bathroom, right? So I just don't know that you need to spend all that money on the premium plan. So if it's okay with you, should we just put that money in your pocket, save you the money, and cross that one off too? Fantastic. Okay, we'll go ahead and cross that one off with the red pen. Then I'm going to take my blue pen out. I'm going to say, Carrie, that leaves us with our standard plan. This is the plan right here that all my clients, just like you, go with. This is the plan that's going to get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache to you. Won't that be great? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. Now watch this. You wanted me to cover the objections, so here we go. If I get an objection at this point, it's usually going to be commission. So the first time she says, well, Michael, will you cut your commission? No. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. Guys, most objections aren't objections. They're just questions. But agents tend to freak out and go into defensive mode and try and resolve concerns when really all you got to do is just answer the question and move on. And that'll resolve it most of the time. Now, if she asks me again, it will normally come in the form of, well, but Michael, so-and-so said she would do it for 1.5% or whatever. Carrie, let me ask you a question. If an agent's not strong enough to negotiate for their own commission, what makes you think they're going to be strong enough to negotiate for the price of your home? Exactly. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. Now, at this point, I've got 85% of them easily. Okay, but if she happens to ask me a third time, very simple. Carrie, as I showed you in our appointment today, my listings sell on average for 5.25% more than the average real estate agent's listings out there. So even if I charge you a full 2% extra, that means you're going to net 3.25% more with me than you would with any other agent out there. So really what I got to ask you is, what's more important to you? How much I make or how much you make? Exactly. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. Game over. If you guys feel like you could do that, say yes. Okay, I believe you can too. So that being said, I really appreciate you guys being here. But before we wrap up, could you guys do me a favor? I want you to look around the room. Do you guys see competitors or do you see collaborators? Guys, let me tell you what the smartest people in this room will do right now. The smartest people in this room will not leave. You will find people that you don't know yet. You will find people that you need to get to know, and you will start getting to know them. Because let me tell you how real estate really works. What's going to happen is eventually you're going to have an offer on a listing that belongs to somebody in this room. And they're going to have 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 different offers on it. And all other things considered equal, if they know you and they don't know the other people that have offers on it, who do you think's going to get it? Okay, that's just reality. That's how it works, right? As long as the price and terms are similar, right? And so my recommendation to you is spend the extra time, stick around, get to know some of the people in the room. And could you guys do me a favor and give up a warm round of applause for Brent Gove, seriously, for making this happen? Thank you, Brent. I appreciate it. All right. That said, do me a favor, get those forms filled out, bring them back to the room. Thanks, guys.
Sounds sweet like a dessert.